I would be starting in another couple of minutes once I. Yes, okay. So now we are live in YouTube.
So you're
Okay.
live in YouTube?
Yes, sir. Okay. So a very good evening to all respected faculty members and my dear speakers. Today, we are in the third session of the webinar series organized by the Department of Biotechnology, Haldia Institute of Technology. And the topic is again potential prospects in BTech and biotechnology in the new post COVID era. And today, we are joined by our guest speakers who are alumnus from our very own college, Mr. Abhijit Gorai sir and Dr. Shorish Ghosh sir. Now, biotechnology is a very flourishing field and it is a multidisciplinary field which has a broad spectrum of application in various research oriented fields as well. And it has a huge job offering, but people are still not well aware of the prospects of this field. And thus, our speakers today will guide us and enlighten us on these topics. First up, we have Mr. Abhijit Gorai sir. He's a research scientist from Biotechnology Division, Lupin Limited, Pune, India. Sir, Abhijit sir?
Yes, I'm in.
Okay, sir. Here you go. The stage is all yours.
All right. Very good evening to everyone. First of all, I would like to cordially thank my HIT faculty members and the students and all students who have been part of organizing this session, which is actually a very good as a need of the hour during this lockdown and post-COVID era, and bringing biotechnology to the people to understand more on this subject as well as the requirement. So I'd like to cordially thank and then start my session with it. So I'll get to my slide deck. So for the better presentation in the visibility, I'll keep the video off and get to the slide sharing note. And I'll put on the video again during taking the questions.
Sure, sir.
So am I audible and the screen is visible clearly?
Yes, sir.
All right. So thanks for the nice introduction, Isma, as well. So I'll a little bit brief into my background. So currently I work as a team leader and a research scientist at Lupin Limited Biotechnology Division, where my team is involved into understanding mechanism of action and developing biosimilar therapeutic drugs and in the autoimmune and other disease environments. So that's the current role what my team currently delivers. So I started my career after my studies in biotechnology way back 15 years, 2005, where I did my engineering from Haldia Institute of Technology, the same institute currently. They are offering this BTech, MTech, and even for these programs. So we were the first batch, a little bit a journey of the biotechnology industries that I had. I started my career with a small institute in Bangalore called Thrombosis Research Institute. Went into the vaccine, some innovative vaccine research. It was an academic lab for a short assignment. I had close to 1.5 years, and then I started my industry career. So I did have significant time into biopharmaceutical drug development, working with Biocon, which is a stalwart biotech company, which has a prominent footprint in US as well, apart from India. And secondly, with Dr. Reddy's and then Pfizer, these are the companies that I have worked at a period of time. And as well as a couple of years, I'd worked with the diagnostics industry called Beckman Coulter, where mostly I had contributed all these years into biopharmaceutical product development. into the R&D side, demonstrating functionality of different biotherapeutic molecules, and have been involved into regulatory filing, and that's bringing the product from R&D to scaling it up to the manufacturing level, and finally getting the product to the market. So this is a brief background about myself. So now with this, I will get to my next slides, a little bit of my current organization as well, and then I will get to the topic, what is the scope of biotechnology currently that the students should know, or something that an upcoming student should know, why to choose biotechnology and all this. So right, I work for a company, Lupin, as I already mentioned. So it's a pharmaceutical powerhouse with a global footprint across the globe with multiple regions. It's the third largest pharmaceutical by prescription in US, as well as by the revenue-wise, third in India. Biotech space, we have a footprint in the biosimilar business, where we have a collaboration with YLB, which is a Japanese company, and then Mylan, which is an international US-based company for the biosimilar product development. This is just a quick background of myself and what we are currently, what we do. So now I'll get to a little bit into today's topic. So what is biotechnology? I think for a student to choose biotechnology versus biology, this is some fundamental concepts I want to bring it on board. So what is biology? We know biology is an ancient naive subject that we have all studied in the school days as well. Biology and life sciences, where we understand about life and living organisms, their structure, chemical process, molecular interactions, and all these things. And what is technology? I had a beautiful definition I picked up from Britannica. It says technology is the application of scientific knowledge to the practical arms of human life. So basically, a technology is the application. When whatever you have learned from science, when you are bringing it for the uplifting and development to the application front for the human being. So that's where the technology comes into picture. So biotechnology is not just a basic life sciences. It comes with many more. When you say biotechnology and bioengineering, it basically utilizes the biological systems and living organisms to develop products for the human and natural benefit. So basically, the way I put forward is, so biotechnology is a subject. So if you want to make a difference to the human being, difference to the society, difference to nature, you want to contribute and want to learn what are these unfolded area, or what are the unfolded puzzles of biosciences, and then want to bring new technology, new drugs, new medicines, new therapeutics, and something that you want to add on to the human life. That's where biotechnology come into picture. So I remember when I was a student and I used to see that people suffering with genetic diseases. That used to touch me. Why? Can I do something? I don't know what I've done, but this used to be something a motivation to choose biotechnology. So what I want to bring in here over, right? So it's a subject that allows us to think beyond life sciences and contribute to the society to touch human lives. So that's where biotechnology comes in. And I would, with this note, I would get to the little more the slide deck, and I would keep the students motivated for learning biotechnology and contribute more and more with the current post-COVID era, where we do see there is a lot of emerging areas in biotechnology that is upcoming, and then needs a lot of scientific contribution. All right. So now I would try to go with from behind. So why do we need to study, right? The end point is opportunities. What we would study, why will we do a BTech, MTech? We want to get a job, right? So with this, so let us see that what are the potential opportunities we have in the biotechnology space. So of course, it's just like any other technology or discipline. So we have opportunities to do academic research. We have opportunities to get to the faculty positions, which is in academia teaching. Industry is a big venture in biotechnology. A lot of new things are coming up. And the third thing is research. It could be a fundamental research or industrial research. Let me get to a little bit the major areas in biotechnology, what a student should know that where they can potentially get a job. So the first and the foremost, one of the major playing area is biopharmaceutical and pharmaceutical setup that comes mostly with drug industries. And then clinical research, a lot of now clinical research coming into picture in terms of taking a product from research to the final market. There's a lot of clinical research, new opportunities are created in the process of getting a product from R&D to the final level, to the bench to bedside, what we call, basically to the regulatory filing and then to the clinic. So a lot of clinical research where biotechnologies gets involved into. Contract research is just like a software setup in the biopharmaceutical and biotech sector where we get a lot of projects from different companies who are working on XYZ domain. And then some specific deliverables come into picture, which is a multidisciplinary research and delivery domain. Software setup, yes. So biotechnology guys can also contribute a lot into the software companies. Nowadays, software companies are also coming up with the life science domain separately. So you also have a leverage to get to directly in a software as well after biotech, BTech, because a lot of software companies are allowing campus recruits as well. At the same time, with your biotech knowledge in an IT company, you can contribute into life science product development support in the different areas where your biotechnology knowledge comes into picture. Another new area is medical writing and scientific writing, where your biotechnology and life science skills come into picture, and you write a lot of scientific documents which are required to get a product up to the level of marketing and approval. And the other areas apart from this drug research is agriculture and plant biotechnology. Food biotechnology is a huge area. FMCG area is another domain, and there are many more like plant biotechnology. There are other different areas. It's a very big, vast subjects of biotechnology. Right. So with this, I will a little bit get into more into this disease research with respect to the relevance of the topic that we are talking of, the post-COVID era. What are the opportunities that biotechnology is going to create? So with this, I'll focus a little bit onto the biologics opportunities in India. So when we say the biologics space, what are the major, like one defined area in biologics comes under novel drug development, means something, a drug which does not exist. We start from scratch. A quick example, itolizumab, all of you might have heard that itolizumab is a therapeutic antibody, anti-CD6, which is developed by Biocon, which is currently contributing to this COVID scenario to bring down the cytokine storm. Even though it was a repurposing of the drug, his purpose was not something else, just trying to bring in. So this is a novel biologic. So Biocon has a prominent footprint into this novel biologics space. Biosimilar is a drug already is there, a biotech drug, and then other companies are trying to make it. So it's not very easy. So there are different companies. I have kept a few names which are very prominent players. Like in biosimilars, we have Biocon, Dr. Reddy's, Intas, Zydus, Cadila, Lupin, etc. And the other area into the vaccine area, which is another area, as you know now, COVID vaccine has expectations for a COVID vaccine has shaken the world. Everyone is looking at the researchers when a vaccine would come in. So that's the biotechnologist who was contributing to this research. So there's in India a couple of prominent organizations in India who are contributing to the vaccine research are Serum Institute, Biologically, Sanofi, and then Bharat Serum, Indian Immunologicals, Bharat Biotech. These are the companies. All right. So I'll get a little bit into what happens in biosimilar industry, since I'm from that background. So this slide is specifically for the students to understand that what you actually learn and how you contribute in the industry. I'll collate with the next slide with a little more information. So we do study a lot of molecular biology, RDNA technology when we study biotechnology, right? So that subject comes into when you develop a clone. So that's where your product development portfolio starts. So you have a plasmid or transcription, you express a gene, and then at the single cell level, you first express a monoclone. And that's where you start your product development. And then you get to scale up level in upstream, and then you partially purify, and then you further get to the downstream where you further purify, and then you finally develop the product, establish the formulations. So this is how the cycle goes. And when the production, the finalization, so the technology is transferred to us to the pilot plant, and then finally manufacturing when large level scale up happens. And side by side, bioanalytical and characterization group starts characterizing the molecule and support all other departments in between all these product development portfolio. And also these characterization groups responsible once the product is ready to characterize the product completely, that is safe, that is biologically active, and their analytical characterization, their protein characterization, everything is done by this group. So this is a holistic approach here to just to show that what are these, an example case study in biosimilar R&D, how the product development happens. A biosimilar product development for a particular product, it takes roughly around 6 to 7 years, more than that, or not less, in general. Right. So with this, I will get to my next slide, where to keep it the students aligned. So what the subjects they study, and then where actually it would contribute. So if you look at here, I've kept a very generic slide here that the subjects you study and where you actually contribute in industry. Let's say molecular biology, rDNA technology, genetic engineering. That's where your cloning starts. And then your fermentation process, chemical and bioreactor engineering, all this you learn. That gets you to your purification domain. Those knowledge you get more training in industry when you get to a process development group and purification. So proteomics is what you learn. That is basically a characterization of protein. And when you get a part of this analytical characterization groups in industry, you basically encash your knowledge and you learn more and how to characterize a molecule on the structure point of view. And then you have biochemistry, immunology that you study, which is nothing but how you establish a molecule's biological activity. Means when the molecule that you have developed, biotherapeutic, whether that is functionally active or not. So that's where these subject knowledge come into picture. And your laboratory scale, whatever experiments you do, so that is something large scale experiments, the backbone starts from there. Maybe a small exposure you get in the institute, in the programs. But later when you get to the industry, so those experimental setup capabilities, you get an exposure to do a larger domain. So that's how it happens in R&D in industry. And then what else you do in the college? You have some assignments, project work within timelines, right? So that's all you generally do into a compliance-driven documentation, what is required in industry. And whatever the soft skill you develop as a part of your journey of tech programs, that makes you an effective team player. So that's where I wanted to put a backbone of what biotechnology actually you study and where actually you expect to get into and contribute in the industry. So the next slide is, okay, so what are the areas where I can get a job? This is the immediate question that you get. So look, so these are the areas. So research and development is definitely a huge potential domain which is absorbing a lot of fresh talents. Next is your manufacturing. Means when you have developed a product and then it's in a process and then you are manufacturing, that's where you can get job. You can get job in quality control. So not necessarily that you always have to do an R&D. Some people, you may not like to do an R&D. You may want to establish a product from quality point of view. That's where you get a job, quality control, quality assurance. And regulatory affairs is another domain where basically you position a molecule based on the need of the regulators. When you file to our regulators, let's say FDA, EMA, and Japan, PMD, all these. So these are the 8 different areas, and you can expect the job to some extent. Different time pressures also get absorbed in different positions. And how do I get a job? It's a tough question. And see, look, how do I get a job? So campus placements now, we see due to COVID and current things, we see there's a slog, but campus placements is definitely one area. Internship is a promising area to get into industry. A lot of companies hire a fresh intern for a 6 to 9 month intern. Once you get into an internship program, you have knowledge of the basic understanding that you have studied in college, and you start implementing in the industry and you gather more skills. to get absorbed in the same company or in some other companies through the contacts you develop during your internship. And then you have BCIL, the Biotech Council. It's an old program. It used to be there in we were students as well. So that's another area to get into. In some cases, project work is something which is maybe you have found something new and then a company is working on that area. That is an assignment of the project that also can fetch you a job. Or else the project work also you can do in industry. Some companies allow students to do project work in industry and then you get hired based on your performance. And the last point is BTech, MTech, PhD. I always see these questions students generally have. So BTech, I would always prefer, given an opportunity in MTech, you can always go for it's better. It doesn't mean you don't get a job in BTech with a BTech. For an example, manufacturing quality and all this, it is not 100% mandate to have an MTech or PhD. If you have a long-term career into R&D, you want to have a deserving role in R&D, it's preferably you at least do MTech, if not PhD. But if you get an opportunity, you should take advantage of doing a PhD as well if you want to develop a long-term career in the R&D. So that's about how do I get a job and where do I get a job. All right, so now I will have a quick, since the topic of today's discussion is in the COVID perspective, what are the new opportunities which is expected to be created. So as we know, a lot of researchers are apparently currently listening to the topic what I'm currently talking about. So I don't want to get into the complex mechanism of the COVID virus, how it works, but why I kept this slide is for the students to make you understand, look how the virus works. It comes, it binds to, it interacts with certain protein of receptor ligand interaction and all this comes into picture. That's where you understand virology or immunology. So this is basically your core understanding of molecular level immunology, biochemistry, and all this. So that's how you actually understand the mechanism of a virus, how it works. And if you see on this today's COVID, entire world is looking at for a new vaccine. And researchers are struggling because COVID virus itself has its own challenges to develop a vaccine. And we see there are a lot of strains of COVID coming up. So this is something I wanted to bring in, why you should study biotechnology. And if you really want to contribute for the benefit of humanity, and this is definitely a subject you should learn, and then you should do some research, and then you should get to innovation, and then you get to either industry or new fundamental research, or you can also think of some entrepreneurship. This subject gives you a lot of opportunity, especially in this post-COVID era. And we see a lot of fundings coming up into this post-COVID era because globally, everyone is understanding that there is some undermining potential lying behind this subject into the new research. So in my next slide, I want to mention that what are the areas, see a lot of new investments we see into the vaccine research are expected to come. New investments in biopharmaceutical research, as we are already seeing a lot of companies are repurposing monoclonal antibodies to evaluate whether it works in the COVID environment or not. Yes, genomic research, yes, there is a lot of research going on at the genome level to understand and characterize this virus. Bioinformatics and drug designing and data mining are the new areas which were already there, but it's a new areas in terms of this COVID has triggered a lot of fundamental research in these areas, which will expect to come in. And a new area which has already been into this data science area in the IT industry, and I strongly believe this data science is going to come in biotech also in the big time, because in this COVID research, I guess in the first time in last 6 months, there has been a huge element of research on this particular COVID environment. A lot of new papers coming up, even the I showed the mechanism, that's also a 2020 paper. So these are the new areas which are creating new opportunities in the post-COVID era, and that's where a biotechnology should be able to contribute and ultimately will be the benefit of society and the human being. So with this note, I will end my slides and I will take up questions for the whatever the available questions we have.
Thank you so much, sir. Well, that last bit demonstration on COVID was really like it was an hands-on experience, like how we future or aspiring biotechnologists can actually, give our contribution into a fair share of contribution into the society. And now we have the questions. Okay, the first question is, what is the scope of scientific writing? Can you explain how to opt for a scientific writer?
Yeah, I think last week also somebody had put up this question on the same line. So see, scientific writing, if you break this word, scientific and writing means you write something. Why scientific means you're not writing stories, right? So you're writing something which talks about some proper science-driven, documented, compliance-driven writing. So opportunities for scientific writings are huge. So a lot of companies, even CROs and software companies are taking up these new roles. Where these scientific writings come into picture is, so see, a lot of clinical trials are on, a lot of product development, a lot of new products are coming into market, where to position this product as in the to the regulators, a lot of proper science-driven, regulator-friendly write-ups are required. So that's where scientific writing as a different field has appeared, which is creating a lot of opportunities. So to get into scientific writings, I see people with biotech and clinical research background, they get in. A lot of PhDs and postdocs, due to their strong experience in presenting a scientific topic in a documented way, are also hired in the scientific writing domain. So I do see there's a lot of opportunity coming up in the scientific writing as well.
So it is a standalone profession, you say?
It is a standalone profession.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Moving on to the next question. Since biotechnology is a lab-oriented profession, how is it possible? Like, when someone who wants to go into and work in the labs, and now when in this COVID era, when everything's in this work from home basis, how can one find jobs in the lab sector?
Yeah, I hope whoever's question is listening it. So the answer would be pretty simple. So we had a national lockdown, I guess, from March, right? From March, April till beginning of May, the lockdowns were very strict. Those 2.5 months, like no, what 2 months, I guess, March to April, April to beginning of May, I was going to office as needed with all precautions. You cannot do laboratory experiments sitting at home, and you can do bioinformatics and wet lab in the software in your laptop, but you cannot generate your wet lab data, doing culturing cell lines, working with proteins in the lab. So which is it not possible to the work from home scenario. And biotechnology industry and pharmaceutical industry was nationwide. There is a waiver which was discussed by the government, that is lockdown has this particular industry is waived from this lockdown because they are working for the people and they are making medicines for humanity. So from month of May, we are working full time. We are operating 50% in first shift, 50% in second shift. This is to support for common people to create their medicines for them. So answer is wet lab is not possible. So if you are very, when you reach to the level of general manager and vice president or maybe senior team member, you may not work in the lab always, but when the team works in the lab, we generally go to the lab and see as we work very closely with the team members. So that's how these industries work. I hope this answers the question.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Well, your slide and your presentation was so self-explanatory and so helpful. We do not have any more questions as for your speech. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, good to know. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
I guess we are pretty much on time as well, right?
Yes, sir. We are dot on time. Okay. Moving on to our next speaker for this evening, we have Dr. Shorish Ghosh, sir. He's a research fellow, National Heart, Lung, Blood Institute, National Institute of Health, Bethesda, Maryland, USA. Shorish, sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So, very good morning from US and good evening to all my.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good evening to all of you in India. So, first of all, very big thank you for calling me for this talk, and I pay my respect to Dr. Sharad, Dr. Sir, and Mukesh Sir, and all the faculty members and teachers of Haldia Institute of Technology. So, so I will straight away go directly to the presentation that I have for today. So just, I think it is visible, right?
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible.
Okay. So it was a very big job by Abhijit, that he introduced the biotechnology subject to all of you, and what are the prospects and things like that. And those were very important for my talk as well. I can was lucky to skip some of those things from my presentation. I started to look at this field as I got inducted to the BTech program in 2005, and I passed out in 2009 as a but I was myself very confused about what to do in life, like most of you out there. So what I did a lot of mistakes down my career. I'm very candid about what I will say today, because I know how important this is for people, the students who are in their BTech program in Haldia or anywhere else. So what to do next, like whether to join a MTech, whether to apply for PhD in US, or go for a JRF, like appear for a JRF exam and crack it and get into the PhD. There was a lot of things. So what I will try to declutter today is uh, who exactly needs to do what in this field. So let's go with my thing, like who am I right now. So I did my BTech from Haldia in 2009. Then I moved on to National Brain Research Center to do my PhD. I got that opportunity under Dr. Anirban Basu, and I did my PhD in neuroscience. Now, neuroscience, and when I got into this institute, it was a totally a new uh, research institute fully dedicated to neuroscience research.
Okay, sir, you can go on now. You're back on live.
Okay, okay. So as I was saying, I'm presently working in the field of enteric viruses, and the newest kind of enteric virus, like respiratory virus, is coronavirus. I have started a project, and recently we have submitted a paper regarding the egress of coronavirus, the SARS-CoV-2, how it egresses out of the cell, like after infection, how it gets out of the cell. So I am sorry that I cannot share much of my research because the paper is under review. So, but I would say that coming from biotechnology, BTech biotechnology from Haldia Institute of Technology, I am very I take this opportunity to help contribute to this big pandemic situation by working in the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So now the most important thing going to this topic of the day is that how we can go for the PhD and what are the research careers like post-pandemic situation. So this now who should be going for a PhD? It's not the ultimate thing that you achieve in the world, and not the it's not that thing that everyone should be going for, because doing a PhD is a very big commitment. And so who should do a PhD? One who is very interested in his or her domain knowledge, to gain more knowledge. It's not a career profession, I would say, in like that. It's something, if you are not driven from the heart, you cannot succeed in this field. I would be very candid and very blatant about this thing. So if you don't feel that I am not interested in my subject, but I need a profession or career, it's not a PhD that you should go for. You should go for PhD if you love a particular domain subject. Like if you are in love with immunology, go for it. You will whatever it takes, you will do as a researcher, and you will end up in a very successful career. So PhD, so you can see like a lot of people do PhD, but you will hear stories that, oh, my career didn't work out in PhD. And that's one thing that I have realized. I don't know, but I just know I'm just 10 years ahead of all of you in your BTech program, because it's like 11 years I've just passed out from Haldia. And I would say that it's just one experience that I have. And so moving on to the next thing, like the road to PhD. So how do you get into this PhD? So you can qualify for the NET, DBT, ICMR exams in India, or you can apply, appear for a GRE and apply to US universities, or get a PhD opportunity, apply for PhD in European labs or Israel, Australia, and other non-US countries. So US has a special procedure, like you have to appear for GRE, a TOEFL, or an IELTS, and then you apply to the university itself with your application package, which includes your recommendation letter, your research purpose, statement of purpose, and then they have a committee set up for each individual application, and they decide on whether to give you a full scholarship or not, or whatever type of scholarship, and then they give you an invitation to join the institute. About the NET, DBT, ICMR, it's pretty simple in India context, that you appear for the exam, you crack it, you appear for interviews in individual labs, and then you get through. For Europe, Israel, Australia, and other countries, They are also kind of the US thing, but they are not requiring any kind of GRE exam. There you just apply to the particular lab. They see what kind of expertise or experience you have in terms of in terms of that particular lab. So you are writing not to a committee there. You are writing to directly to a scientist over there and asking permission whether I can be a potential candidate in your lab to do PhD. Okay, so now these three are the main roads from where with which you can start from. Now, is it the only ultimate thing? Like this is the only three ways whether you can get into the PhD? I will say no. One thing I will stress upon is that time is very important for you all, and don't waste your time. Like if you don't get through a NET or DBT exam, or your GRE score is not good, you will just drop that year and go for like try another year. My personal thing is that you should move on from there. Don't waste your years, because if you want to come back to India, there are opportunities which are very age limited. Like to avail a particular scholarship, you have to be under certain age. To get through a young faculty, like young career fellowship, you have to be like something like 32 years to 35 years. So if you like spend your 2-3 years in just trying for getting and getting through the NET or DBT exams, you are losing on that, because after that you have your PhD. PhD might take you like 5 years, 6 years. In US, it takes like sometimes like 8 years. And then when you start thinking of coming back to India, then you see that you are already over the age. So I would suggest don't wait for just one field, like way of getting into the PhD, like through NET. If it's not happened, I will say there are opportunities. Like you contact labs in India, like if they will have constant advertisements for the JRFs, like you can they post things like they need project assistant for their labs. So get into the project assistantship. Get in there, learn how the research field works, learn some techniques that will add to your CV, and that will, and if you're lucky, you can contribute to a paper, like staying there for 2 years. Then you will have a feeling how a lab works, and then you will get to know people over there who can recommend you to certain labs abroad, because all the scientists in India are coming from after doing their PhD or postdocs from foreign lands like US, European countries. They know certain labs in those countries where they can recommend you if you perform very good in their lab, like contributing along with their PhD students, helping those PhD students with techniques you can develop. So that all builds up your CV. So at that time, if you've spent 2 years as a project assistant in any lab, I have seen personal experience that you are more a potential candidate for getting into a US university or a European university more than what you were a couple of years ago. Because a couple of years ago, you were just a student and you didn't have research exposure. Okay, so taking from there, you get a PhD. It's not the ultimate thing in the world, because PhD is just the first step in research, where you are you got a training in molecular research, where you know how to work in the lab, and you know, like you are interested in a particular domain, like you are interested in immunology research, you are interested in biochemistry research, and from there on you take uh, and also you learn how to write a paper, read a paper. You like through your PhD career, you will read around like I don't know how many papers, like 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, all in your topic, and you start writing. You start writing your own manuscript. You start writing your own review papers, and so from there, gaining those experience, going to international conferences, you do networking, you meet people out there and ask, like when you are in the final year, you ask, like you write to people, I want to do a postdoctoral thing, because postdoc adds more to your PhD. It adds the experience to your PhD. Why it is required? Because uh, you people sitting in here, like who, if you are trying to go to that ultimate goal of joining in an academia or starting career as a researcher, you will require good papers. And there are some certain terms that I was not aware while I was doing my BTech. What is impact factor? What is H index? I think you should people should go to the Google and type in H index, impact factor. What are they? Uh, they are reflective of your CV, like how good a researcher you are. And that is one of the, and it's the most important determining factor apart from your future research proposal, before you join lab as a researcher or a scientist, uh, back in India or even in outside countries. So with that, the next stage that I was thinking, telling right now is like, think one step ahead, because getting into PhD is not the end of the road. So you get into a PhD, you get into a, like you are trying to find a lab to join. So what are the things you should keep in your mind? It's not that getting a PhD, I will succeed. You go drop in a lab which is not productive. They don't have any publication in the 5 years, or like also low impact journal publication. I think that's not a good start. Again, you will get a PhD, but you will not end up being successful in this field. So these are the things which I gathered over the years. Like first, before joining a lab, first find out what kind of publications they have in the last 5 years. What techniques they are like you will learn after like graduating from that lab. And believe me, you are, if you get hold of one of the technique, and then you will be valuable in the research field, for joining any lab, any career option. There are certain particular techniques that you have to learn, like you have to excel in. And then you have to contact the alumni of the lab, where they are placed, how they are doing in life. And last but not least, get information about the lab environment. That is very important, because you have to spend 5 years. And if it's a very stressful lab, and 5 years staying in a very depressing environment is not good for the health. And it is a, because PhD is a long-term commitment. And if you get distracted by such kind of thing, you are not ending up anywhere. So moving on to the coronavirus thing and COVID situation, which we are in. So I would say that this in this pandemic, convert pandemic into opportunities. How to do that? So there are several opportunities right now. So there is a growing funding provision globally dedicated to future pandemic research. So people are thinking not about coronavirus in future only. They are thinking about future attacks. So by studying different viruses, studying immunology in research, there's a lot of global funding going in, so that we can avoid any future catastrophic situation like this. So also, like there are more funding going in for biotechnology related industrial support. Like in India, one thing I would just mention very shortly, and people in industry would know this, that in India, in labs, we still depend on US industries to procure items. We don't like in China. I would say that they have their own setups. Like they don't depend on US to produce a antibody to use in their labs. So they make their own things. So there is a lot of potential for startups, like for making these chemical reagents, the antibodies, the ELISA kits, and everything. So the, these demands will increase once there is research funding going up in the country. And also, like talking about the new education policy, and there are like several opportunities coming up, and there the new education policy, what I have read, is much more targeted towards more of a research or application oriented study. And a lot of international universities are coming in and collaborating with Indian universities would be coming in, and they would contribute a lot to the Indian education scenario, because you will get a sense of how the universities design their courses outside India. So and also with that, not only you will have a global perspective of in terms of education, but it will also create a lot of jobs for people who are thinking to join as a like a faculty member in those universities. So with that, I would be very welcoming the questions now, and yeah. So that's it from my side.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. That was really great. And we do have a set of questions now.
Sure.
Well, it is all pertaining to the higher studies which you reflected much upon. So the first question is, for getting into PhD, when shall one start preparing, and what is the first step towards his or her work into publishing and writing papers? Like, what should be the first step into venturing into this field?
Start thinking about from where you are right, like in the second year, even, because it's that early. You are like studying a particular subject. If you are interested in biochemistry, if you are interested in immunology, you don't need all the subjects to get into a PhD program. You just need to expertise in one. So study one subject, and then from the third year and the fourth year onwards, you try to sit for exams like the NET, or then you start thinking of a particular research idea if you are able to do that at that point of time. Publication writing, writing manuscript is something that you will learn when you get into a lab. So don't worry about that.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you so much, sir. And the next question is, in college applications post GRE, that is, applying abroad, can you suggest some tips that would make my essay stand out from the others? Like, we all know everyone is giving the GRE, right? Like, how would I be selected over the other candidate? What would be that plus factor? Can you suggest something?
Yes. So that's the thing. Again, I'm reiterating. You have to have a research interest. So if you are having a research interest, you will go beyond your books, because your books have which has been reported past 10, 20 years now. So read current papers. If you are interested in COVID research, read whatever research material you are getting right now. You study, and I am sure that you will have good research ideas which you can write down in your statement of purpose.
Okay, so the better the research aptitude that I can display, the better the chance
exactly, because those people stand like sitting, they don't know you how good you are in academics. Everything will reflect from your writing, and if they see that, okay, this guy or this girl is knows what research is and what this field is, like they will see that, okay, so we can have this person on board because they are somewhat like similar in intellectual thinking as we are.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you so much. And there's this last question, which is what relevant extra techniques? You were talking about extra techniques or skills that one can add on to the CV
Yes.
for getting for becoming a potential candidate. Okay,
Yeah.
so what extra skills can be like the today we get online certification courses for almost everything, irrespective of which field I'm from. But which would be
Right.
the relevant skills which we should opt for or add on to our CV to be be a potential candidate for lab work or for PhD work in future?
Great. Good question. So, getting an online certification is okay, that's fine. But what I was talking about is some kind of technical skill that you develop in a lab. So, starting with a very simple example, uh, try to like start learning to run a gel in your lab, because I know uh, we had this facility like 10 years ago. I know I think there is more techniques in right now in Haldia, but try to run a gel so that you if you know running a Western blot, you can say when you are joining a PhD program that, okay, see, I know how to do a Western blot. So that's a big plus point just at the point zero, whether you where you have not started your PhD. That's why I told, like, if you do a project assistantship in any lab for a couple of years, you are equipped with a lot of skills just before starting your PhD. So that gives an age to who is a candidate who is applying just after his or her BTech or MSc or whatever, and a candidate who is trained in labs and applying for a PhD. So he's a way ahead. He or she is way ahead in application in skill sets than you are right now. So that makes a huge difference. So that if you are able to get into the PhD program, it's very good. But if you are not, go and develop your skill set. You will definitely end up getting a PhD, because getting a PhD is not a very big thing, but how you plan your career after that, uh, how that lab is and how you perform in that lab, how much good publications you can have from that lab, that's the most important thing to go ahead in this career.
Okay, sir. That was really informative and kind of motivating for everyone who's at the edge of this, chapter who are passing out. I know some, like I'm in second year, but then there are seniors. I know they're in a dilemma as to how to proceed further. And
Yes.
your
So
presentation
one thing
really
I would say that my one point is that please keep that thing in mind. Don't waste any of your years. Just that thing would help.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Shori, sir. With that, we come to the end of the speakers part. And now I would like to invite Shudip, sir, to give us a vote of thanks.
Yeah. Am I audible to you,
Yes, sir. You are.
everybody? That is okay. Okay. Thank you, Edna. Uh, Respected chairperson of this webinar and also head of the Department of Biotechnology, Haldia Institute of Technology, Haldia. Respected convener of this webinar, faculty coordinators, all faculty members, staff, respected all administration of our institute, chairman, vice chairman, secretary, director, principal, registrar, and others. All the respected viewers who are following this webinar through other channels also. Our beloved students everywhere in the universe, our beloved alumnus, Mr. Abhijit Ghore from Lupin, Pune, and Dr. Sauris Ghosh from NIH, Bethesda, USA, who are present in today's webinar with us, giving their valuable time and motivating speech in spite of their busy schedule. Now, it's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks in this webinar, potential prospect in BTech and MTech biotechnology in the new post-COVID era. So we are facing the challenging and very critical situation. In this situation, we must defeat. I pray we will defeat that situation. We'll defeat that moment everywhere. Okay, and begin to the normal life, return to the normal life again. I, on behalf of the Department of Biotechnology, HIT, Haldia, and on behalf of the coordinator, extend a very heartfelt vote of thanks and sincere gratitude toward today's evening delegates, as well as our beloved, you can say that is our alumnus, Mr. Abhijit Ghorai and Dr. Soris Ghosh, for their sparkling and enthusiastic speech, sharing their views and ideas regarding the prospects of course of biotechnology, MTech, and BTech in the real world. This must enlighten our students and also enlighten different areas of the biotechnology, okay, towards our students. In this context, we would like to say this is also our small approach to bridge up the gaps within the academia, research and development, that is R&D industry, by sharing, exchanging knowledge or ideas within all stakeholders to be attached with us forever. So trying to gather every people of every areas, every arenas of the biotechnology, okay, to fulfill our dreams, our goals. So we would like to continue this process as usual in future. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation to Abhijit and Soris for pioneering this arena of biotechnology by their hard working in the field of biotechnology, for humankind. My special thanks to Abhijit and Sori, who are present here, who are always inspiring, supporting our students everywhere, their juniors. Also, thanks and gratitude to our administration for encouraging and supporting to us to continue this webinar series, a successful one every time. And my deep sense of thanks and best wishes towards students, coordinators, Etna, you, Devanko, Devraj, and Akash for their constant support to organize the webinar series. For this reason, the webinar is being organized in an excellent manner every time. And we expect for that every time also from those type of students. And overall, I thank you all for being with us with your great patience. Okay, so we hope we will be able to continue this webinar series. And our next webinar will be held on the next Sunday, that is 20th September 2020, as usual. Please be with us again in the next week. Wish you all the best. I pray grand success of this webinar series. Once again, I thank all of your cordial support and cooperation. Thank you all. Etna.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you everyone for sharing your valuable time with us this evening. And it was really great to have you on board. And we hope we can stay in touch and hear from you again in the future. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, thank you.